Today's episode is brought to you by Dollar Shave Club. www.dollarshaveclub.com/Comicstorian. Are you tired of choosing between overpriced razors and low-quality plastic disposables? Well, Dollar Shave Club has your solution. Their razors provide a high-quality close shave for the price of a disposable razor. They deliver amazing razors right to your door for a fraction of the price that you used to pay. Just go ahead and go to www.dollarshaveclub.com/Comicstorian to support us in Dollar Shave Club today. Welcome to Comicstorian's Complete Story series. This is the channel where we break down recaps of your favorite comic books, allowing you to catch up on the stories and know exactly what is going on. But doing that would be kind of boring, so we add in music, voices, and sometimes sound effects. This is the story of the Avengers vs. Red Skull, which will lead to the events of Secret Empire. Years ago, Storm stands before the Professor. We can't trust Rogue. She tried to kill the Avengers, Professor. How will the rest of the world look at us if we take her in? And there sat Rogue, her face in her hands with tears flowing down it. She told them that she turned to the X-Men because they were her only hope. The X-Men turned to her ready to throw her out on the street, but one man rolled over with a smile on his face. Professor X came to welcome her. If we help Rogue today, Storm, we may not have to confront her tomorrow. With hope in her eyes, Rogue turned to him. "Thank you, Professor. I won't let you down." And then Rogue's happy dream turned into a nightmare as she saw Professor X's body strapped to a table and the Red Skull devouring his brain. "What were you saying about letting me down?" She woke up suddenly crying from another nightmare. You see, the Professor was killed during the Avengers vs. X-Men storyline by Cyclops. But a brain as powerful as his isn't something that will just be buried and forgotten. The Red Skull worked out a method to acquire the brain of Professor X and place it into his own skull, giving him the Professor's telepathic abilities, and he's been torturing the X-Men with it since that day. Most of the mutants have been preoccupied with the Terrigen Mist trying to eradicate their species, but Rogue hasn't forgotten how she is letting the Professor down, and has been leading her Avengers team with Deadpool to try and find the Red Skull. Well, the Red Skull is done playing games with them. He's already broken all of them mentally, and it's time to finish his plan. So he makes a call to Quicksilver, one of the team members that he already has full control over. It's time. Blood begins to roll down Quicksilver's nose, and his eyes roll back into his head as he begins to pump Quicksilver's head with the thoughts that he is trash, and the Red Skull can save him. Over in New Orleans, Dr. Voodoo is standing in front of a door when swoosh! Pietro runs by grabbing him. In New York, Johnny Storm lands on the Statue of Liberty to see a fallen man, and Pietro runs circles around him, sucking up all of the air, trapping him. Deeper in the city, he stops in front of the inhuman Synapse. Forgive me, Synapse. And crack! He straight punches her. Meanwhile, Cable, Deadpool, and Rogue are sitting in the base of Unity trying to figure out Rogue's nightmare when they get a phone call from Janet the Wasp. She calls for help. She's in a fight with a speedster and she can't tell who it is. And then Quicksilver grabs her out of the air. Deadpool hops up. "I got her position, let's go!" But Cable knows what's coming. "This is a speedster, Deadpool. Whatever's about to happen is gonna happen in seconds, not minutes." And he flings lines across the entire room. Then the wall explodes as Quicksilver stands there with a twisted grin on his face. Cable and Deadpool are removed quickly, and Rogue grabs Quicksilver by the throat. "Red Skull, I know that you're in there. Release him! Get out of my friend!" "Xavier taught you well, Rogue." And then he raises a needle to jam it into her arm, but Deadpool jumps in the way, taking the needle himself. He falls to the ground, and through Quicksilver, Red Skull tells her, "I'm impressed. Even with my increased power, you are able to resist me with his tricks. Well, I'm at the old Avengers mansion. Let's talk this over." Then Quicksilver grabs Cable and runs off while Deadpool gets back up. Man, this is gonna remain the holiest building in New York. Good thing I have the builders on retainer. He then shows the needle was jammed into his Avengers wristwatch, and he asks Rogue, "What are the rules of engagement here? Because Rogers had my safety on the whole time." Rogue tells him she needs him to sit it out, and he tells her, "I can kill the Red Skull for you. It's fine." She again tells him to sit it out, and now, confused, he asks, "Excuse me? Whatever's wrong with me makes me immune to the Red Skull's brain whammy. Why am I sitting this one out?" She begins to hover to leave, and she tells him, "I don't have time to argue. Go find Gambit and Magneto." "Oh, so you want me to form a team of your former boyfriends?" "You idiot. Xavier had cards to play when he needed them the most. When the first team fell, he had a whole second generation of X-Men. You're my ace in the hole." Over at the mansion, the Skull is preparing for Rogue's arrival, until she does and instantly grabs him by the throat. As she prepares to crush him, suddenly he changes into Johnny Storm, and the Red Skull is standing behind him. "Ha! Almost had you again, Rogue. Now we're gonna play a..." And then out of nowhere, his brains are literally blown out. Rogue looks back at a rooftop far, far in the city and sees Deadpool. "And Merry Christmas to all!" She smiles as she knew that Deadpool couldn't stay out of it. And then Professor X begins to roll over to Rogue. "I'm so proud of you. You saved me." She smiled at him. "I promised I wouldn't let you down, Professor." And that's what we see. It's the Red Skull standing up, throwing the whammy on her. Deadpool can see the truth though, and he realizes that he's now lost Rogue, and he begins to haul his butt across the rooftops trying to call in backup, yet everyone he calls sends him to voicemail. Quicksilver runs up, grabbing the phone and throwing Deadpool off of the roof and into the sewers, and as he falls, he simply tells him, "I like you, Quicksilver, and I know the Red Skull has his hooks in you, but stop chasing me or I'll kill you to save the others." Meanwhile, back at the mansion, Red Skull is working his way through his captives, convincing Synapse to cut herself, showing Dr. Voodoo the hell that he put his brother into. Janet is dealing with the Hank Pym Ultron, and Johnny sees the return of Reed and Sue, only to blow them up himself. Cable, on the other hand, isn't so easily defeated as Red Skull walks into his cell. Cable grabs him by the throat, throwing him into the rest of the manor. He then walks up and buries a knife into the Red Skull's dome, stating, "I did it. I ended this." But as he feels like he won, the Red Skull breaks out of the ground, throwing him back into the building. Because while Cable may be an Omega-level mutant, he isn't there yet, and the Red Skull is in his mind. So Cable does the only thing that he can do to keep the Red Skull out of his memories of time travel, and he wipes his own mind, leaving a blank slate. With the Avengers all falling to him, Red Skull decides that it's time to take his super team on the road, and he places a call. Avengers, assemble! It's time to take his version of Hydra to conquer the superhuman community. Meanwhile, over at Bleecker Street, Deadpool comes crashing through the doors to find Wong there, and Wong informs Deadpool that sadly Doctor Strange isn't around. Luckily, Wong is prepared to fight, and then Spider-Man arrives telling Wade that he got his call. It's a good thing that they've been teaming up in the Spider-Man Deadpool book and they're now friends. The battle of Avengers versus Deadpool and Spider-Man and Wong doesn't even get a breather as they take it right to the streets. Wong tells Spidey that he can't believe that Deadpool dragged them into this mess and then he ran off, but Deadpool comes biking up on a bicycle telling Wong to tell it to Yelp. I had to go find something to end this. We have to get inside of the Avengers mansion now. As they begin to press forward, Synapse drops all three of them to their knees. Johnny Storm rises up into the sky as the group is helplessly sitting there as he prepares to burn them. So Deadpool throws a pineapple surprise, also known as a grenade, to Spider-Man, and he tells him to use it on the hydrant. With a boom, it goes off, launching water into the sky, putting out Johnny Storm, and Wong sweeps Synapse's legs out from underneath her. With that, all three of them begin to run towards the mansion, except the Spider-Man Spidey sense begins to go crazy because Quicksilver runs in, shoulder-checking him into an Urban Outfitters. He rolls around on the ground, commenting how he said he wouldn't be caught dead in one of these places, and then he throws a web cartridge out into the street. Deadpool, pull! Deadpool takes a precise shot, hitting the cartridge, and it goes off, trapping Quicksilver to the ground and webbing. Dr. Voodoo, on the other hand, is preparing all of his firepower to hit Wong, except while you may think Wong is just Dr. Strange's assistant, he's rather powerful himself as he begins to block all of the magical attacks. Johnny Storm gets up as Red Skull prepares to force him to kill himself in front of Spider-Man, so Spidey webs him up and turns to Deadpool. We need to get this to the Red Skull now. This isn't going to end well if we continue it here. Agreed. How far can you throw me? So Spider-Man grabs Deadpool and with the strength proportionate of a spider, he hurls him across the city. Give Red Skull my love. My whole planet needs me! He comes crashing through the windows where he finds cosplayers in the outfits of the old heroes, but they aren't exactly a challenge for Deadpool. He then sucker punches Sin and he begins to walk forward, pistol raised, looking for her father, the Red Skull. As Red Skull opens the door, he sees Deadpool's pistol in his eye. Deadpool has a chance. He has to pull the trigger. He can end it right there, right now. And Deadpool hesitates. That's all it took for Rogue to break through the wall, grabbing Deadpool and throwing him down. He knew at that moment that he up. Red Skull watches on. My goodness, that was quite a scare you gave me. Rogue sweeps her leg, trying to kick Deadpool with her insane strength, but he ducks and begins to open fire on the Red Skull. She moves quickly, blocking each shot aimed at the Red Skull, and then kicks the gun out of his hands and stomps on his stomach before punching him so hard that she removes his stomach. She then lifts Deadpool up and slams him into the ground so hard that he goes through the floor. She lands on top of him and begins to break his arms and then slam his head over and over with her super strength. As Deadpool lay in a bloody mess, the Red Skull begins to dine on lobster. Deadpool lays there, in a pool of his own blood, not healing fast enough for it to matter, and he explains to the Red Skull where he was. You see, he hit up Spider-Man and Wong and he had them fight off the Red Skull's Avengers while he ran over to Westchester. He wanted the X-Men's help, but there was nothing there, not even a mansion. They're currently in limbo trying to escape the Terrigen Mist. Red Skull begins to dine on his dessert as he asks, is there a point to your story, Deadpool? Hang on, I'm getting to the good part. You see, the X-Men are sentimental collectors. You know what? Go ahead and enjoy your Sunday. Rogue will be right with you. Deadpool reaches into his bag and he pulls out the one thing that can finish this. The helmet of Magneto. Red Skull stood up. Mein Gott, kill him! Rogue begins to rapid fire pummel Deadpool's head over and over, but he only needed a moment to throw the helmet onto her. Red Skull grabs his daughter and he begins to run for the exit, but Rogue stands free of him because Magneto's helmet was built to block Charles Xavier. She is free of his mind control. She looks down at the beaten Deadpool and he tells her, go get him, Tiger. here? Rogue grabs Sin and throws her into a wall. If you dare lay a finger on me, but Rogue swoops it back in. I dare. And she throws Red Skull out of the window and into the courtyard. You struck me. You forget I still have control of your friends. They will pay for your actions. But Rogue grabs him. How many of you killed? You don't get to put your thoughts in my head anymore. And she chokes him into unconsciousness. All of the Avengers are finally free and they all go to Rogue to see what's going on. Some say to kill the Red Skull and end this, while the others say that they can't just do that. So she picks him up and tells everyone to secure the area. She's going to finish this the right way. And she flies off. They find Cable inside of the mansion brain dead. And they find Deadpool near death, not healing. Dr. Voodoo tells him that Rogue took Red Skull and Deadpool realizes that he failed her. It was supposed to be him. He was supposed to kill him, not her. That's not how the story is supposed to end. They all begin to debate what plan Rogue was talking about and then they figure it out. The Avengers didn't have a plan beyond capture the Red Skull, but the X-Men did. And Rogue lands in Beast's lab. The next day, everyone is waiting for Beast to complete his surgery, and he does. He removes the telepathic part of Xavier's brain, and that's when Steve Rogers arrives with S.H.I.E.L.D. They begin to haul off Red Skull, and Voodoo reminds Steve that he disbanded this group. Not bad for a disbanded Avengers group, is it? But Steve reminds him that his shield isn't his own, it's the US government's. Once Unity began to work with criminals, it was time for him to leave. He then takes Rogue aside and he tells her to give him the telepathic part of Xavier's brain. It is a weapon of mass destruction and he'll be taking it elsewhere. She tells him that he won't. Steve looks at her. Don't make this unpleasant, Rogue. She breaks through the wall, launching into the sky to escape, calling out to the Torch. I want you to end this, Johnny. Send Charles home. With his heart breaking, Johnny says the words, flame on, and he burns the box. He then leaves telling Rogue that he'll give her a minute. She floats over the city, overlooking all of New York. Meanwhile, the Red Skull is loaded up into a prisoner transport and he sees Steve Rogers in front of him. Steve Rogers is no longer the Captain America that you may thought you knew. If you haven't been keeping up, the universe has been altered to make Steve a follower of Hydra, the original Hydra. Red Skull is in charge of him and he turns to him. You, how could you let them do it? But this was all a part of Steve's plan for Hydra. You know, he never agreed with the Red Skull's vision. With a telepathic brain, how could he stop him though? I guess you'll have to wait for the next video in the Secret Empire to see what Steve did, and we'll be releasing that later today. Rogue and the Avengers all head off to celebrate the end of their Avengers team, and as Deadpool is walking away with a cane, Rogue sneaks up behind him and asks if he hates her. He tells her that he's fine, he's healing. He just cares about her enough that he doesn't want to involve her in his life. It never ends well for anyone involved. She tells him that he's not fine, he's walking with a cane. So she grabs him and lifts him into the sky, giving him a gift by giving him a huge kiss. Rogue's powers are to absorb the powers and afflictions of the other individuals. And when they land, Wade looks normal and his limp is healed, but Rogue has his cancerous looking face. He turned to her. You don't deserve this. You don't even know what's in my head. And that's when the memories of Wade's life hit her. The experiments, the lost love, the hell that he's been through, and she smiles. I'm a big girl, Wade. You're a palate cleanser after what happened with the skull. And they kiss again, and Rogue tells Wade that she feels something. And Wonder Man pops out of her body looking at Wade. Do you want to explain this to me, Deadpool? The story of the Uncanny Avengers is going to be continuing throughout Secret Empire, but this is the very beginnings of Secret Empire. If you want to know what Steve Rogers did with the Red Skull, since he technically works for the Red Skull, I'm going to be releasing the one-shot that explains that later today. So you guys can follow along with that, and I'll put the link to it down below once we release that video. But this is one of my favorite Avengers stories. This entire Uncanny Avengers run has just been incredible. We had a lackluster first story, but everything after that has just been something that I wanted to see the Avengers doing. And I want to know what you guys think of it down below. Do you enjoy this story of the Avengers? Don't forget, you can subscribe to the channel to keep up to date on all of the Secret Empire stuff as it comes out. Also, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram where we can talk about all of the happenings in the Marvel Universe, and we can talk about how we like or dislike Secret Empire. I'll see you all next time right here.